This is Max and Mia podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Max and Mia podcast. I'm Max.
And I'm Mia. It's so nice to have you here with us again today.
Yeah, we're really happy you decided to join us. So let's not waste any time and let's get right into it.
So, if you're listening to this, it's probably because you don't just want to improve your English, you're also planning to travel soon or maybe at some point in your life, and you want to feel ready for that.
Exactly. And that's what today's episode is all about. We're going to share some things with you that we think you'll really want to know before you travel and need to speak English.
Whether it's at the airport, in a hotel, on a train, or basically anywhere else, these are situations we've actually run into ourselves.
Right. We've found this vocabulary super useful based on our own trips. So today you're going to learn key words and phrases that'll help you handle a bunch of different situations while traveling.
Now, before we jump in, we just want to mention something. We've designed this podcast using certain principles and methods that make learning a lot easier.
So everything you hear today is meant to be clear, easy to follow, and genuinely useful, especially if you're at an intermediate level.
We really want this to feel natural, not like a boring grammar lesson.
All right, with that said, let's get started with today's episode.
Let's do it.
Okay, so let's start where every trip actually begins, the airport.
Oh, this is a good one. I feel like the airport is where people get the most nervous about speaking English.
Totally. And honestly, it makes sense. You're tired, you're stressed, and suddenly you need to understand an announcement or answer a question from an agent.
Exactly. So let's think about it step by step. You just landed, or maybe you're about to check in. What's the first thing that usually happens?
Well, if you haven't checked in online, you'll need to go to the check-in counter. And this is actually a great example, because check-in is one of those chunks you'll hear everywhere when you travel.
Right. It just means confirming your flight and getting your boarding pass. You'll hear it as a noun too, like the check-in process, or as a verb, to check in.
And once you're checked in, they usually ask, "Are you checking any bags?" So if you're only carrying a backpack, you can just say, "No, just a carry-on."
That's such a useful phrase. A carry-on is basically the bag you keep with you on the plane, instead of putting it in the cargo hold.
I actually had a situation with this once. I was traveling to Canada and I didn't know my bag was too big to be a carry-on. The agent just looked at me and said, "I'm sorry, this won't fit in the overhead bin."
Oh no.
Yeah, I had to check it last minute. So, lesson learned. Always check the size limit before you go.
That's a really good tip, actually. Okay, so after check-in, what's next?
Security, and this part can move fast, so it helps to know a few key expressions beforehand.
Yeah, like when they ask you to empty your pockets or take off your shoes. Nothing complicated, but if you don't know these phrases, you might freeze for a second.
Exactly, and freezing at security is never fun because there's a line behind you.
True. And once you're through, you'll probably need to find your gate. That's the specific area where you actually board the plane.
Big airports can be a maze, honestly. So here's a tip. Look for the departure board. It'll show your flight number, your gate, and whether the flight is on time, delayed, or worst case, canceled.
And if you ever get lost, you can always ask someone, "Excuse me, could you tell me how to get to gate B12? People are usually happy to help.
Definitely. Now, here's a question for you listening right now. Have you ever missed a gate change or almost missed a flight because you didn't understand an announcement? Let us know. We'd love to hear your story.
Yeah, we've all been there at some point. All right, so once you're at the gate, you'll wait for boarding, and they usually call passengers by group or by row.
So you might hear, "We're now boarding group 2," or "Passengers in rows 20 to 30, please proceed to the gate."
And that's basically it. You board, you find your seat, and you're on your way.
Simple when you know the vocabulary, right? But definitely stressful if you don't.
So to make this even clearer, we want you to listen to a short audio clip. It's a typical check-in conversation, the kind you'll hear at almost any airport in almost any country.
Yeah, and you'll notice something interesting. It's actually really simple, and it's pretty much always the same structure. Once you learn it, you'll recognize it every single time.
So pay close attention to what the agent asks and how the passenger responds. Here we go.
Good morning. Can I have your passport and booking reference, please?
Good morning. Sure, here you go.
Thank you. And how many bags are you checking in today?
Just one, please.
Okay. Could you place it on the scale for me?
Of course.
Perfect. That's within the weight limit. Did you pack this bag yourself?
Yes, I did.
Great. Do you have any liquids, sharp objects, or electronics in your carry-on?
No, just my laptop and my phone charger.
That's fine. Would you prefer a window or an aisle seat?
Window, please, if it's available.
Let me check. Yes, we have one available. Here's your boarding pass. Your gate is B14 and boarding starts at 10:40.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a great flight.
See? Told you it was simple. It's basically the same 5 or 6 questions every time.
Exactly. And once you recognize that pattern, you stop feeling nervous about it. You already know what's coming.
Right? It's not about memorizing every possible word. It's about knowing the structure of the conversation.
Totally agree. Okay, so now let's say you've landed, you've got your bags, and you're finally out of the airport. What's next?
Now you need to actually get to your hotel or wherever you're staying. And this is where things can get a little confusing, especially in a new city.
Yeah, so let's start with trains, since a lot of airports have a train or a metro line that takes you straight into the city.
Right. And the first thing you'll usually need to figure out is where to buy a ticket. You'll often see a sign that says ticket machine or ticket counter.
And if you're not sure which line to take, it's totally normal to ask someone, "Excuse me, does this train go to the city center?" Or, "Which platform do I need for downtown?"
Good one. Platform is key vocabulary here. It's basically the area where you wait for the train to arrive.
And one thing that trips people up is the difference between a one-way ticket and a round-trip ticket.
Oh yeah, I actually messed that up once. I bought a one-way ticket thinking it would work for the way back too, and it didn't. Learned that one the hard way.
Classic mistake. Honestly, a lot of people make it. Okay, now let's talk about taxis and rideshare apps, because this is where it really depends on where you're traveling.
That's such a good point. In some countries, Uber works perfectly fine. In others, it's barely used, or it doesn't even exist, and people use local apps instead.
Exactly. So before you travel, it's worth checking what app people actually use in that country. Sometimes it's Uber, sometimes it's something like Grab, Bolt, or a local taxi app.
Good tip. And if you do end up taking a regular taxi, there are a few phrases that'll save you a lot of trouble.
like asking, how much will it cost to get to the city center, before you even get in. That way, there are no surprises.
Right. And if the driver doesn't use a meter, you can ask, do you use a meter or is it a flat rate? That question alone can save you money.
Good one. And if you're not sure the driver understood your destination, you can always show them the address on your phone instead of just saying it out loud.
That's honestly one of the best travel tips ever. It avoids so many misunderstandings.
True. And what if something goes wrong? Like, what if you get in a taxi and you feel like it's taking a weird route?
Good question. You can politely say, I think this isn't the fastest way. Could we go through here instead? Most drivers will explain if there's a reason, like traffic or construction.
And if you genuinely feel unsafe or unsure, it's always okay to ask the driver to stop or to call for help if you need to.
Absolutely. Your safety always comes first. Now here's a question for you listening. Have you ever had a confusing experience with a taxi or an app in another country? We'd love to hear how you handled it.
Yeah, share your story with us. Okay, so to sum this part up, check which app is common in your destination. Always ask about the price beforehand, and don't be afraid to ask questions if something feels off.
Perfect summary. Moving around a new city doesn't have to be stressful once you know these basic questions.
Okay, so let's talk about hotels now, because this is another place where you'll definitely need some English.
Yeah, and honestly, hotel check-in is usually pretty smooth, but there are a few situations that can catch you off guard.
Like what?
Well, for example, sometimes your room isn't ready yet when you arrive, especially if you get there early in the morning.
Oh, that happened to me in Portugal. I landed super early, went straight to the hotel, and the receptionist said, I'm sorry, your room won't be ready until 3 o'clock.
Classic. And in that situation, you can politely ask, is there any chance of an early check-in? Sometimes they can help, sometimes they can't, but it never hurts to ask.
True. And if they can't, you can usually ask, could I leave my luggage here until my room is ready? Most hotels are happy to store your bags.
Good tip. Now let's say your room is ready and you go through the normal check-in process. What kind of things might they ask you?
Usually they'll ask for your ID or passport, and they might ask, do you have a reservation under your name? So it helps to have your booking confirmation ready, either printed or on your phone.
Right, and they'll often ask about your payment method too, like, will you be paying by card or would you like to leave a deposit? A deposit is basically money they hold just in case something gets damaged in the room.
Good vocabulary there. And once you're checked in, they'll usually explain a few details, like breakfast hours, Wi-Fi password, and checkout time.
Checkout time is important because if you leave later than that, some hotels charge extra. So it's worth asking, what time is checkout? Right when you arrive.
Definitely. Now, what about problems during your stay? Because things don't always go perfectly.
True, and this is actually useful vocabulary. Let's say the air conditioning isn't working, or there's no hot water. You can call the front desk and say, "Hi, I'm having an issue with the air conditioning in my room. Could someone take a look?"
That phrase works for almost anything. I'm having an issue with plus whatever the problem is.
Exactly. It's a really flexible chunk. You could say, I'm having an issue with the Wi-Fi, or I'm having an issue with the door lock. Same structure, different problem.
And if it's something more serious, like a noisy room or a billing mistake, you can ask, would it be possible to change rooms? Or, I think there might be a mistake on my bill. Could you check it for me?
Great phrases. Staying calm and polite usually gets you a much better response, too. Hotel staff really appreciate that. And here's another common one, asking about hotel amenities. You might want to know, is there a gym or a pool? Or do you have a laundry service?
Good point. And if you need something extra, like an iron, extra towels, or a hairdryer, you can just call the front desk and say, "Could I get an extra towel sent to my room, please?"
Super simple, and it works for basically any item. Could you send this to my room? Is another one of those flexible chunks.
I love that we keep coming back to these reusable chunks, honestly. It really shows how a handful of patterns can cover so many different situations. Okay, I think we've covered the essentials there. Should we listen to a quick example?
Yeah, let's do it.
So this time, you'll hear a guest checking in at a hotel and running into a small issue with the reservation. Listen closely to how they handle it.
Good evening, welcome. Do you have a reservation with us?
Good evening. Yes, it should be under the name Sophia Reyes.
Let me check. I'm sorry, I'm not finding a reservation under that name. Could you check the spelling for me?
Sure, it's Reyes. I booked it through a travel website.
Ah, here it is. I see it now. It looks like it was actually booked under a different email. Sorry for the confusion.
No worries at all. Is everything okay with the room?
Yes, everything's fine. Could I have your ID and a card for incidentals, please?
Of course. Here you go.
Perfect. Breakfast is served from 7 to 10 in the morning, and checkout is at noon. Here's your key card. You're in room 214, third floor.
Great. Thank you so much for your help.
You're very welcome. Enjoy your stay.
See, even when something small goes wrong, like a reservation issue, the conversation still stays pretty simple if you know a few key phrases.
Exactly, and that's honestly the whole point of today's episode. It's not about knowing every word in English. It's about knowing the right phrases for the right moment.
Couldn't agree more. Okay, so what's our last stop for today?
Let's talk about tourism agencies and visitor centers, because a lot of travelers forget these exist, and they're actually super useful.
True, especially when you land somewhere and you have no idea what to do first. Visitor centers are usually near train stations, airports, or main squares, and the staff there speak English in most touristy destinations.
Right, so let's imagine you walk in and you want some recommendations. You could start with something simple like, "Hi, could you recommend some things to do around here?"
Good opener. And they'll probably ask you a few questions back, like, how many days are you staying? Or are you interested in anything specific, like history, nature, or food?
That's when it helps to know how to describe what you like. You could say, "I'm really interested in local food," or "I'd love to see something outside the city, maybe nature or hiking."
And if you want to book a tour, you can ask, do you have any guided tours available? Or is there a tour that includes transportation?
Good ones. And don't forget to ask about pricing too. Something like, does the tour include entrance fees? Because sometimes the price only covers the guide, not the tickets to museums or attractions.
That's such an important detail. I've been surprised by that before. I booked a tour thinking everything was included, and then had to pay extra at each site.
Ouch. Lesson learned again. Okay, what about maps and directions? That's another classic situation.
Right. You can simply ask, could I get a map of the city? Most visitor centers have free ones, and if you're lost later, you can stop someone and ask, "Excuse me, I'm trying to find the main square. Could you point me in the right direction?"
point me in the right direction is such a natural way to ask for directions. Way better than just saying, "Where is it?" which can sound a bit blunt.
Good point. And if someone gives you directions and you don't fully understand, it's totally fine to say, "Sorry, could you repeat that a bit slower?" People are usually happy to help.
Definitely, nobody expects you to understand everything perfectly, especially in a second language. And it's not just tours and maps either. Visitor centers and even hotel staff are great for restaurant recommendations too.
Oh, definitely. You could ask, "Could you recommend a good local restaurant nearby?" Or, "Where do locals usually eat around here?" That second question is great because it often leads you away from touristy places with overpriced menus.
Such a good tip. And if you have dietary restrictions, don't forget you can say, "Is there anywhere with vegetarian options?" Or, "I'm allergic to nuts. Could you recommend somewhere safe for me to eat?"
Really important phrase, especially if it's a serious allergy. It's always worth learning that one before you travel, just in case.
Agreed. And here's a question for you, listening right now. What's one place you'd love to visit someday? And have you started thinking about what English you might need for that trip?
We'd genuinely love to know, so feel free to tell us.
One more thing about tours. What if the weather ruins your plans? That happens more than people think.
Oh, for sure. If a tour gets canceled because of rain or a storm, you can ask, "Is there a chance to reschedule for another day?" Or, "Do you offer a refund if the tour is canceled?"
Good ones. And if you booked something online and you need to change the date, you might say, "I'd like to modify my reservation. Is that possible?"
Modify my reservation sounds a bit more formal, and it's perfect for emails or phone calls with an agency.
Right? So, depending on the situation, you can go more casual in person or a bit more formal if you're writing to someone or calling ahead of time.
True. So, between the airport, the train, taxis, hotels, and now tourism agencies, I think we've covered a really solid foundation for anyone getting ready to travel.
Yeah, honestly, if you learn these chunks and situations, you'll be able to handle most real conversations while traveling, even if your English isn't perfect yet.
Exactly, and that's really the goal here. Not perfection, just confidence.
All right, so that brings us to the end of today's episode. We hope this gave you a much clearer picture of what to expect and how to handle these situations in English.
Let's do a really quick recap. We talked about the airport, from check-in to security to boarding. We covered trains, taxis, and rideshare apps, and how things change depending on where you travel. Then we moved on to hotels, from check-in to handling small problems during your stay. And finally, tourism agencies and visitor centers for recommendations, tours, and restaurants.
That's honestly a huge amount of real, practical English packed into one episode.
It really is. And remember, you don't need to memorize a huge list of vocabulary. Just focus on these small chunks and phrases and practice using them in context.
Also, quick reminder, in the audio clips today, notice how short and direct most of the sentences actually are. You really don't need complicated grammar to sound natural.
Great point. Confidence and clarity matter way more than being perfectly grammatical. Native speakers make mistakes too, all the time.
Exactly. And if any of these situations sounded familiar, or if you have your own travel story, we'd genuinely love to hear it. Feel free to share it with us.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to follow the podcast so you never miss the next one.
And as always, keep practicing, keep listening, And don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's honestly how you improve the most.
Couldn't have said it better. Thanks so much for listening, everyone.
We'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone. Take care. To keep taking your English to the next level, click on the next video or explore the others we've made for you.